This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Oh boy, duct detectors, right? Okay, so service call today is they had a fire inspection, and on the report for the fire inspection, it said air handler number 2 duct detector fail. That's the only notes. Oh no, and then it says will not exercise. I have no idea what that means. Doesn't mean anything to me. So what we're gonna do, they don't have air handlers, they have package units, so an RTU, but I think I understand the point. This is RTU 2. There's a duct detector way over in that corner. You can kind of see a green light. I'm gonna climb over there and we're gonna have a look at it. But I'll be honest, anytime I get duct detector calls, typically it's best, unless it's an obvious problem, it's best to schedule a meetup with the fire alarm company. Now here in my area, the fire alarm company does not deal with the duct detectors. We deal with them. We install them. They land their alarm wires in them, but we service them, you know, that kind of stuff. They just make sure that they're actually triggering and tripping when they're doing their fire inspections. I know in some other places you're not allowed to touch them, whatever, but here we take care of them. So I'm gonna climb over there, just visually inspect it. As long as there's nothing crazy, we're just going to schedule a meetup with the fire alarm company. And when I do schedule a meetup, I'll bring duct detectors with me, just in case. And they'll bring the resistors for their end-of-line resistors, and we'll go from there. So let's climb over there. So I climbed over here. Back there is where it was, to this duct detector. First off, I'm gonna tell you, this is the dumbest placement of a duct detector, okay? I don't really understand why they would put it here, because this is my electrical penetration for the roof. I could literally take this alarm wire, run it up through that hole, and be in the package unit. And the same thing with the test and reset wire right here. And in fact, one of these wires should be going up to the AC too. So we are gonna talk to them about getting these out of the attic and getting them relocated up into the units where they are accessible, and go from there. And I'm a little worried too, because there's a sampling tube right here. I don't know, oh, it looks like there's one in there. Yeah, I think there's a sampling tube in there, but yeah, this thing's just completely inaccessible right here. The new duct detector is gonna be a different model. We'll use a system sensor one, because that's what's readily available where we're picking our materials up and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to corporate and talk to them about relocating these up into the or into the package units themselves, so that way we can actually get to them. When we come over here to the unit, this is the one that I was looking at, the duct detector. If we open this up, this right here is going down. So we should be able to pass some stuff up through this, no problem. In fact, we've got wires right here. Those are gonna be, let's see, number 21 is going to the duct detector right here. This is probably powering the duct detector, going down to there. Yeah, we could totally do this. We can make this work. Yeah, I don't see a problem with this. So, like I said, I'm gonna contact facilities, and I was looking, that unit right there is also it's in line with this one. That same scuttle access right there is where you get it. And then the kitchen unit over here is where, this one's above ceiling tiles, so we can get to that one. So as long as facilities will let me, I'm gonna go ahead and relocate this, and I'll do the work pulling all the wire, and then I'll just let the alarm company come and verify that everything's working properly. Maybe supply me with new resistors for the end-of-line resistors. I was able to convince the customer to go ahead and let me relocate these duct detectors and replace them all. So we've got 3 duct detectors. I've got one right back here. What we're doing is I've got technicians helping me, and we're gonna run new wires. So we found the ceiling tile to access this spot. Now I'm gonna climb over to the other side, find the ceiling tile that's best to access that detector, and we're gonna start on pre-running the wires up to the roof and relocating the detectors up there. That way they're easy to troubleshoot. Come with me. and you'll be in a world of OSHA violations. Okay, this is nuts. All right, so I came up here last time and I was like, why is this ductwork all crooked like this? Like it's like crooked. Well, I'm looking back here. There's a cover to a duct detector right there, just laying down, but there's a cover on that duct detector back there. If I come over here, you can see the strap. See that strap right there? See right there? And then there's one right there. Someone cut all those straps and they laid on top of this, shimmied back there, and changed that detector. My problem is, I'm trying to find a way to get new wiring down here so I can splice it in. I believe it's right back there where those conduits are, but I can't get back there. The only thing holding this ductwork up right now is the fabric duct connector over there and this one strap. That's just nuts. That's sketchy. And we've got a giant supply duct running over here, the whole length of that area over there. This is just ridiculously dumb. This is why I want to move these detectors. All right, I'm getting to the point where I think I can make this work. So this is, I came over on the other side of that ductwork, right? Because I was trying to get over there. Can't do it. This is one of the thermostat wires coming from the unit, and this right here is the other ones. So now that I can get to those points, I can push wire down that conduit to here and connect it to where I need to. I still have to get over here because over on that wall is a white and a red wire running right there. I gotta splice that too. This is a tricky one. So we actually found that there's a pull string in there, okay? So what I'm gonna attempt to do is tie my red alarm wire to it. And we're gonna try to pull it through. If that doesn't work, then we'll grab this conduit, take this out completely, and pull a brown and a red through. But I can actually utilize this brown right here, and I only need an extra red alarm wire going up if I can do it that way. This is actually working better than I thought. So on the other unit, I was able to grab this string, this pull string that was left in there, and pull up the red wire. So we're doing the same on this one. This is another one. So if I can get these red wires pulled up and ran, then we can start splicing them in, and that makes it a lot easier. So that's the idea here. All right, so that worked. We were able to get, and I have plenty excess here. So the idea is that we're not gonna connect this, we're not gonna deal with this. We're gonna do a scheduled meetup with the fire alarm company. But I already ran the wire up to the roof. We can go ahead and land it at my smoke detector, but it's going nowhere. It's not being monitored. Then when the fire alarm company comes, I'll be able to go up here, grab that wire right there going down, cut it, which actually goes right over here, splice it in a safe way to this guy right here, and then we'll land his new resistor up on the roof, and then we'll be able to connect that. And then we'll do the same for the other unit over there. I guess we're gonna do their kitchen AC now too and get this ran. And then once we do that, then we'll continue our work up on the roof. So what we were doing was pulling this wire up to here. So we got that up now, and that'll make it easier on startup day. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the smoke detectors, and we're gonna get them set up. So these smoke detectors right here, they come into pieces, right? So we're gonna separate the two. We're gonna put the detector head in the return air section, and then the control head in the electrical section. And we're gonna start pre-wiring this, but we're not connecting it to the existing fire alarm. We're gonna save that changeover for a scheduled meetup that I'm gonna have with the fire alarm company. So I'm just pre-running the wires, getting them ready, and then we're gonna let the fire alarm company be responsible for ensuring that the wires are landed correctly on the detector, even though I know where they go, but basically I want them here to be the ones that, you know, say that everything's working correctly. So when you pull the covers off, you can do a couple different operations, but these wires can be removed and we can splice and, you know, locate them separately. So all you gotta do is take out these screws, and then the whole thing will completely come apart. That's what I really like about this detector assembly. And this is a system sensor. Gotta be careful because there's different ones, the 4120. The one that says Smoke SD is a little bit more complicated because it doesn't have the terminal screws. It's a little different, so I like this one. We have a wire ran from the control assembly all the way through there, all the way over there into the control assembly. We have the detector sensor right here. and we're gonna splice the wires into here. That's what this is for. We just ran the sampling tube all the way through. It goes all the way to the other side, and we have the holes in the airstream. So basically the air is forced into these holes, goes into the detector head, and then because of gasketing in the cover, it's then forced out through the sensor right here, through this guy. So you have to have this guy in there too. That's the exhaust tube. So it really doesn't matter which side goes where, just as long as you have the exhaust tube, and there needs to be a red cap in the other end of that. Down at the very far end, there's a red cap. So we're gonna get this spliced in now into here. We're gonna pull this thermostat wire through that same hole, put the splices right over in here. Then this will be wired in, and then we'll get over to the control assembly. We're currently working on getting the detector. So we got the sensor wire ran, right, and connected right in here. That's the sensors, and the tamper sensor and the detector head. And then now we're doing power. So black and red are gonna be our power. They go to 9 and 10. And then the other two is gonna be our switched leg. So what we're gonna end up doing is yellow is gonna end up going to 24 volts. And then we'll put it at the terminal board over here. And then blue is gonna be the wire going to number 21 on this Lennox L series unit. 21 is our smoke detector input. So it's looking for a 24 volt signal. If it sees it, then it does emergency unit shutdown. So yellow is gonna go to 24 volts R at the terminal board. And then blue is gonna go to our switch leg. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab one of these contacts. We do not wanna use the supervisory. We do not wanna use the alarm, because the alarm goes to the alarm panel. Supervisory, that's a confusing one because everything's backwards on that one. We're not gonna worry about that. We're gonna go to aux A. And so basically, yellow is gonna go to C as in common, because these are dry contacts. So even though we're powered 24 volts right here, this contact has no interconnection over here. So we have to power this contact. So yellow is gonna go to our C for a common terminal on that contact. And then we basically want blue to go to 17 for normally open. So that way, if there's a fire condition, it closes common to normally open and sends a signal to my unit to say there's a fire. Now I'm working with other people and I'm showing them how to do it. So in this situation, I'm gonna help them with this one unit, and then I'm gonna leave them and let them do the other 2 units. So this one right here, this guy's wired in, it's done, the cover's put on. You gotta make sure that it seals and everything like it is, we're good. And then we've got our extra wires right here. That's fine, we just lit a little extra just in case. It's ran up and over all the way through the unit into the control section. So we are done here. So we're gonna put the cover on, close it, and then finish up the control wiring over here. Got Robert over here working on getting started on this one. And then this is their kitchen. We'll do that one last because we can shut that off when they're in operation. Our efforts are gonna be to try to keep the dining room and the bar running when they have customers in the building as much as possible. So those are the first 2 units we're tackling. Usually either I'll write on the unit right here, or we found the unit instructions where it tells you what every wire does, okay? There's actually more than one 24 volt terminal on here, so that's good to know because we're actually requiring a couple 24 volt wires, so we move things around. So we're getting everything wired up. We're gonna wire in the common to number 7, which is right here, the 24 volt common. Now we gotta be careful because I said common when we were talking to the contacts too. There's common when it goes to 24 volt power, right? That's the other side of high voltage. And then there's common for a contact too. We want to be careful not to confuse the 2 of those. Well, we just applied power, okay? Now what we're gonna do, it's actually this one right here. Okay, so when you apply power to these guys, nothing blew up, okay? The circuit boards, the unit, the indoor blower motor turned on, contactor pulled in right there. This guy's now wired in. Now you gotta give it a minute when you start them up because this one's in like a startup sequence, so it's flashing red, orange, green, orange, green. Eventually that'll go away. It just did, and it's just gonna go into a green mode. So now it's in its normal condition. And what we're gonna do, we disconnected the existing smoke detector wiring temporarily right now, right? Because the other smoke detector is still wired in the attic because we're just doing everything we can. Now, if I hold this down, it should put this into a smoke situation, simulating a problem, and our unit should go into emergency shutdown. So I'm holding it. Okay, now we got a red light. All right, and then we come up here, and right there we have a number 4. Number 4, if you come over here, is smoke shutdown, smoke alarm. Okay, so what we just did was we proved that we wired in this guy. Now we hit this, it resets, and the smoke will eventually go away after a second, right on that. All right, now what we did was we proved that this guy is wired back in. It just went off and it went back into normal operation. This guy's wired in. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to go ahead and connect this blue right here back, so that way the existing smoke detector will shut down the unit, because the fire alarm is tied into the existing smoke detector downstairs right now. And we don't want to change that at this moment. We're just pre-wiring these units, getting them ready. And then next week, I'm going to schedule a meetup with the fire alarm company. And that's when we're going to tie in the fire alarm to this guy and the test and reset stations to this guy. So that way we can manually turn them on and off downstairs and not have to come up here to test them. So at this point, I'm done. I'm going to let the guys finish the other 2 units. We've proved that this is good. And we'll put the cover on, and we'll be back next week when we meet up with the fire alarm company. All right, we are back today. My guys did the other 2 units, got the detectors installed. We ran out of time because we're working with an operating restaurant, so we had to take our ladders down and put all the ceiling tiles back. So we're back today, and we need to do the wiring for the test and reset stations that allow you to reset and test the detector from in the manager's office. So we're gonna pull a new wire up to here, and then we have to intercept the wires down at the old detectors that are going into the office, and we'll just do a splice in the attic. This one, again, I'm thankful for these installers because we have another wire, another pole wire going into a conduit with nothing in it. So we're gonna pull a wire, a thermostat wire, up through that conduit right up into this unit. All right, because I can get to this detector, I'm able to get in here and just unwire the old test and reset station. And then we're gonna try to use this wire because it's floating loose in the attic, and we're gonna pull a new thermostat wire and do a home run. That's our plan, at least. Let's see if we can make it happen. Okay, so we have the unit wired in, the test and reset station wired in, and I have someone downstairs, and he's gonna trigger the system now. And we're gonna hope it gives us a smoke signal there. Okay, there we go. Smoke signal 4. All right, go ahead and reset it. We should be going away. It just reset. It'll take a second for the AC to catch up. There it goes. And then last but not least, I'm gonna trigger it here by holding this down. Just a second. All right, now I've triggered it. It shut the unit down, and he's gonna reset it. Go ahead, from down there. So we have 3 different modes that this thing can trigger, and he should be able to reset it all from downstairs. See if it goes away, and it just went away, and the AC just came back on. So we have successfully wired the test and reset stations. Now we're gonna check the other 2 AC. Now, while we were doing this testing, we still have the other detector wired in down in the attic. So we disconnected the wire signaling a fire condition or AC shutdown for the other detector because we didn't want any weird backfeeds, right? So we got to connect that back in. Now, for now, they're going to have 2 detectors connected until I do my meetup with the fire alarm company, which will land his wire in here, and then this will become the primary detector. The other one will get unwired and just completely disconnected. So that's it for this until we meet up with the fire alarm company and do their scheduled meetup. And now we have these individual test and reset stations, bar, dining, and kitchen. The light will light up if the smoke detector's tripped, and they got keys in all of them. So like I said, we're good until we meet up with the fire alarm company. Sometimes this happens. It's annoying as all get up, is that the alarm company never showed up today for the scheduled meetup. So we went through all the proper channels. We wanted to have the fire alarm company come out, land their end-of-line resistors in my new smoke detectors that I installed, and then confirm the entire system was working correctly. We contacted the corporate office of the restaurant chain I'm working with, let them schedule it through their account manager at the alarm company. The account manager confirmed it. We then got an email from another person that confirmed it, and then we talked to someone on the phone that confirmed that an alarm tech was going to show up today at 7 a.m. It is currently 9:15 a.m. and I called the alarm company's dispatch. They found the service call and they said it was never assigned to a service technician. So someone dropped the ball. it's frustrating. Like, it does happen, but good gosh, it's frustrating because I wanted to finalize this job and be done with it today. And here's the frustrating thing. I can finish this job. I can go land their wires. I can grab the resistors out of the old smoke detectors, put them up at the new smoke detectors, but I really want the alarm company to do it because then, you know, they verify and certify that everything's 100%. Like, I know I could do it, but it's one of those things where, nah, I'm not going to. I'm going to follow the proper procedures, but it's just a waste of my time. I have a lot of other jobs I could have done today. You know, my mornings are crucial doing restaurant refrigeration. Your mornings are everything because it's how you get the most important jobs done first thing in the morning, and can't do this one. So frustrating, but oh well, we'll schedule for another day. All right, so my alarm tech showed up today. So now we're just gonna go ahead and land the new alarm wires and put his resistors on here. And then we're gonna splice in the attic and tie in his system and then test it to make sure everything's working correctly. We already know that our detector works, all ends, test and reset stations, and everything. It shuts down the unit. We just need to bring in the fire alarm now. Despite my best efforts to warn them and tell them to bring resistors, they don't have enough. So I'm gonna have to pull the old resistors from the old detectors. Kind of frustrating, but oh well. All right, they showed, we got it hooked up. Their alarm wires are now landed in here with resistors, and they labeled them with their alarm zone wiring. And we've already tested them and everything. So these units, I just disconnected the old duct detector because we still had them wired in. That's right there, not being used. So now we only have the one detector and we're good to go. And it's the same for the other two ACs also. We are good to go. They're all labeled now with their zone numbers. Like I said, we tested them, everything works. We're gonna give them the keys and tell them to keep an eye on it. You know, duct detectors used to confuse the heck out of me. It kind of became something that I finally got sick of not understanding. So I just dug in until I figured it out. And then you realize that there's really not a whole lot going on when it comes to a duct smoke detector, okay? It's really there to signal or to sense smoke, and when it senses smoke, it does something, right? And it has different contacts inside of it. I've got several videos breaking down duct detectors. There'll be a link in the show notes to this video, to another one where it really simplifies the wiring and everything. But I mean, really, all you have is a control module that takes some sort of an input power source, usually 24 volts, sometimes 120 volts, you know, it just depends. And then you have a bunch of dry contacts that react differently. So the aux A, the aux B contacts, they're just as they stand. They have a common, normally open, normally closed. Those are dry contacts, meaning that there is no power source to that contact. So you have to bring in a power source in order for the contact to do something. So you bring in a power source to the common terminal, and then whatever reaction you want to have happen from the normally open or the normally closed will happen depending on how you wire it. Now, one thing I will say is that on the contacts, sometimes you have a treble contact and or a supervisory contact. Those contacts typically, from what you see the smoke detector or the duct detector, they do the opposite, because the common, normally open and normally closed, are represented in a trouble mode or a supervisory mode, okay? So as the duct detector stands in normal operation, if there's no problems and everything's wired up, on the aux A contact, you know, common to normally open is going to be normally open with nothing going on, right? But on the supervisory or the trouble contact, it's going to be the opposite, okay? And so basically what it represents normally open is in a trouble condition or in a supervisory condition. I've got, like I said, several videos. You guys can watch those and it'll explain it, okay? So we went ahead and we had to work with an existing operating setup. Everything was wired in. They said they had a problem with the duct detectors. I couldn't figure out what it was. In fact, I never got to see whatever the alarm tech said that was the problem. And the alarm tech that came out to help me to finalize the wiring had no idea because he wasn't the responding tech that wrote those notes. So it was just a big confusing thing. But all I know from experience was if we were going to try to troubleshoot an issue with those detectors, it would have been a nightmare trying to troubleshoot it in the attic, trying to figure out where the problem was. Let's just nip this in the butt. Move it on up to the roof where if there is an issue now, boom, we can stand up there at the unit panel and troubleshoot everything we need to troubleshoot, and it's all super accessible and easy, okay? It's ridiculous, some of the installation locations that you see for duct detectors. Most of the time, they're completely inaccessible, and it's just nuts, okay? That or they're 20 feet up,
suspended in the ceiling where you can't get to them. Put a duct detector on the roof. Depending on what brand you have, you can mount it inside the unit. You can mount it on the outside of the unit, get a protective cover. One thing I will say, they do make waterproof duct detectors. They suck, okay? Make sure you still put a protective cover. I don't care if it says outdoor, rated, waterproof. They still have intrusion issues. Put a cover over that duct detector. Once you put a cover over it, you'll be good to go, all right? So you got to see the process. You got to see me going through having to work with an existing system. I left the existing system in operation the entire time. In a perfect world, I just ripped everything out and started over and wired them the way that I wanted. But I needed this system to be operating and protecting the ducts, monitoring the ducts the entire time I was installing the new duct detectors. So we left it in play, and that's why we had to do it, and that's why it took so long. In a perfect world, if I didn't have to deal with customers and my ladder being in their way and all that stuff, I'd have gotten this all done in a day. No problem. No sweat. Alarm company there, boom, we would have done it all and gotten it. But oftentimes when you're working in restaurants, you got to work with existing systems. You have to work with their operating windows, so we can only be having ladders in their waitress server line, for 2 hours in the morning, 7 to 9:30 a.m. And that's it, because then the servers got to come in and start prepping their server line. And, and then by 10, 11 o'clock, they've got customers in the building. So then they're walking with food where I'm putting my ladder, and that doesn't add up, right? So dealing with restaurants is this whole, new thing that you have to understand. So when I said in the video, I've been here for 3 days, it doesn't mean that I've been there for 3 days at 8 hours a day doing that. No, I was there for a couple hours with another tech, and then we left and then came back for another day, a couple hours, just a little bit at a time. All right. I really, really appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video. I'm sure we're going to have lots of comments and lots of questions. Leave them in the comments. Feel free to shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I really do appreciate you, okay? If you're interested in supporting the channel, the easiest way to support the channel is literally watch the videos from beginning to end, okay? That's the super easy way to do it. You can also support the channel via Patreon, PayPal, YouTube channel memberships, or if you want to go to TrueTechTools.com, you can use my offer code BIGPICTURE, okay, one word. You get an 8% discount on checkout on majority of the items on their website. There's a few things the discount doesn't apply to, but when you use that offer code, again, BIGPICTURE, one word, I get a small commission from that. Another great way to help support the channel. You can also support the channel by going to my website, hvacrvideos.com. That's where we have these hats available, several different types of hats. This is a curved bill hat. Put a lot of effort into this. It's got a black underbill, flex fit. It's hard to explain to you, but this is a completely breathable hat. I can see light through it, but it's not a trucker hat, okay? Made sure that all my hats have a black underbill. That's really important. Now, this is the only one that has the active breathable material. We also have a flat bill hat and a dad hat. This one is the most popular one. We also have beanies. We have zip-up hoodies. We have t-shirts, all available on my website. Again, hvacrvideos.com, okay? I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so very much, and we will catch you on the next one.